Hello, welcome to the land of Kakiak. My name is Laurel. I was going to share with you today how I teach my kids to write book reports. This skill has its origins all the way back in kindergarten, when I would read to the kids and they would have to tell me back what happened in every chapter, right? This is something I continue to do even with my high schooler. He'll read a chapter and he'll have to tell me back everything about the chapter that he can remember. We use this for science courses, literature, history. So this one skill of narrating back everything as much as you can possibly remember, we've been doing, since school started. And then we just build on that. There's a tell back, right? Or narrate it back to me. And then there's also me asking follow-up questions and kind of book talks, right? And then we also have notebooking. So if I read something to my kids, like even my young kids, they're going to tell me back everything, and then they're going to draw a picture or something from the chapter that day. All right, so the next more formal thing I would say, and you can start this as early as first grade, I'd say first or second grade, is my book picture notes and comic summary guide. And I'm going to flip through this so you can kind of see the pages of what you would get with this. It's like a printable, I think it costs $3. You'll get some notes for me. These are chapter note pages, so you print these out. And you just print a couple, however many chapters you have, kind of figure out how many of these you need to print. And then I'd staple them together and fold them in half like this, and you use it as a bookmark in their book. So my notes to you say, take chapter notes in picture form, include new important characters, main action and conflicts, inner and outer. Add captions after reading time each day. Fold note page in half and use as a bookmark, and print a new page if you fill an entire sheet. I just like to fill them out ahead of time. So when they're really little, you can help them with the captions. So we read Betsy Butterfly. Right away, you meet Betsy. So we're gonna draw that butterfly, and I might write on here for the caption, Betsy Butterfly, main character or something, right? After the kid finishes reading the book, or even if you're reading it to them, they can start doing this for read aloud time. You're gonna spread out, right? They're gonna look at all those pictures, all the summaries they've drawn, and they're gonna look at their storyboard. And you're gonna, when they start out, you're gonna, help them with this. The where and the when, good guy, bad guy, other characters, what happens at the beginning, middle, and end. And then the comic, my printer's not been printing very neat lately. This is the comic strip. So say, again, when you're reading Betsy, Butterfly, the tale of Betsy Butterfly, write that in, comic strip. And I could have them make a summary of the book with the comic strip here. So that's one thing you can do with it. And they can even optionally give a little oral presentation. I didn't always do this. Sometimes by the time we got to this part, the kids were sick of drawing and sick of the story that they've been working on. So a lot of times we just stopped at the storyboard. But maybe you have a kid who really loves art, and that would be a good thing to do. And I was going to show you how we used these pages in a lap book. So we made a lap book for the Tuck Me in Tale series, the Tale of Betsy Butterfly. And these printables are from my lap book starter kit. I'll link all this stuff for you. And your student would put their information here, draw a picture of themselves, the name of their school. And these are the elements. So there's characters, show and tell, right? Some of these we printed out. You could do more. We talked about the theme with this, jealousy is ugly, manners are beautiful, honesty is best. Key events, meet Mrs. Ladybug, she's jealous of Betsy. Meet Betsy, described as lovely and kind, right? So key events, you could write those things in here. Vocabulary, flashcards, right? If you were working on vocab words, you could do this flashcard memory game where one side is the word and the other side is the meaning. Main conflict and resolution, right? We could write that in here. Conflict, Mrs. Ladybug's jealousy, the resolution. Betsy retains her dignity and remains polite. And then we put kill him with kindness. So the chapter notes are here. So we actually cut up all those chapter notes. These are ones William did back when he was in, I want to say second grade. And we just turned them into this little flip book. Chapter 2, Chapter 3, it's called The Mishap. A lot of times we just put the name of the title for the caption. And I made this, I helped William with this one because I wanted to have a good example copy for him in the future if he did more of these. So that was our first step into book reports. Like, you don't have to do this. This was just like an extra fun thing I wanted to do. But the book picture notes and comic summary guide was a good place to start and for them to learn about things like character, setting, conflict, and then beginning, middle, end, right? Like putting things in chronological order. So we're starting to like organize their thoughts, right? How are they going to organize their thoughts and pick out information from the text? You can do things a little differently each time. You don't have to do all the parts. You can focus more on certain things. Like maybe the first time through, you just do all the characters, and maybe the next time you focus on all the different settings because they go to different places a lot of times. So you can accommodate what you want to specifically focus on until you get all those parts down, and then combine them together, maybe in grade 2 or 3. Okay, so my next step up is book notes and summary guide. This is for 3rd to 5th grade. Some notes from me. So this is what looks different on this one. So instead of taking, picture notes, they're going to start actually writing a little summary. So take chapter notes, including new important characters, main action and conflicts, inner and outer. After reading time each day, fold note page in half and use as a bookmark. Add a new page if you fill in the entire sheet, front and back. Yeah. Okay, got that in their book. You can actually attach this to the back of it too. When they're done finished reading the book, they're going to reread their chapter notes and fill in the book information sheet. So you can see here, I've got book title, author, genre, setting, which is where and when, main characters or protagonist, good guy who's telling the story, antagonist, bad guy or villain, action, initial, what happens at the beginning of the book, conflict or main problem, is this an internal, external conflict, are there elements of both, explain, climax, most emotional or action-packed moment or event, resolution, outcome of the conflict, how did things end up, final thoughts, what other stories is this book similar to? Using your reading notes, write a summary paragraph for your book in 3 to 5 sentences. Then write the book title, and they're going to write a quick summary. Okay, so just today, I think was the first time we actually had him look at his sheet and actually write a full-on book report, a 5-paragraph book report. And this is what you had the sheet to write on, book report 4, right? You can print, another page of this if you need to. If you see here, this is separated P1, write paragraph 1, paragraph 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they can go back and they know what to have in paragraph 1 by how it's divided up on here. Let me show you the one that William and I just did. It's okay to do this with them the first time or two, so they have a good example to refer back to. So actually for 5th grade, we are reading the Chronicles of Narnia. And so what we did is we made a reading plan. He just read a chapter a day. And because I have a subscription to the Robinson curriculum, that curriculum happened to have these reading questions for that series. So instead of having him write a chapter summary, I actually just went ahead and used these in place of that for this one. So, and it had the answers at the back. And they have a little section on vocabulary too that you can do if you want to with them. Each one of them has had 3 of these little packs. Okay, so he did his reading questions. Of course, he checks his answer here. Then he went through and filled in his book info sheet. And what he wrote was in the green. You can see I went back over it with him with my black pen. And what's nice about using really popular books is, even if you haven't read this book, you can just Google the book, like a summary of it or whatever, and there'll be summaries online that you can read, that you can go through and kind of see how accurate their information is. Or if I'm like, are you missing something here? Like he had the when totally blank. And I was like, are you sure it doesn't give you any when? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And so it's like, let me see your book. Because usually the setting will be set up at the very beginning. So I'm teaching him how to look for information. And right away, as I suspected, this is the story of an adventure that happened in Narnia and Kellerman and the lands between in the Golden Age when Peter was High King in Narnia. All right, so right there is the when and the where, right? So that was a learning moment. We pointed that out. We talked about main characters, who was the bad guy. We have to get the spelling correct because a lot of times he guesses on the spelling. And I helped him like kind of fill this out to make sure I had enough information. And that was a really good book talk day, right? I would say that makes for a really good reading lesson to go over this with them and hash that stuff out. So he did that, and then he actually wrote, he's used to writing the summaries because he did summaries last year in 4th grade. But we wanted to take it a step further this time with a book report. So I wrote it for him so he'd have a nice, clean example to refer back to, but we did it together, but I did handwrite it out for him. We looked at the information that was on this sheet, and you can see the 5 paragraphs, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's what I would be looking for. I'd be looking for, when he turns this into me the next time he reads this next book, there's actually 5 paragraphs that his sheet is completely filled in. He has all the 5 paragraphs here, and all the information from his sheet has made it onto the page. And this is a good time because, to check his writing skills, right? Like, how is his grammar? How is his spelling? This is a good check for me, what I need to work more on. And I want to get him, by the end of this year, totally able to do these all by himself without me having to do so much, hand-holding. I expect it to get better. It takes repetition, right, to get better at stuff. I do know that I can't have him do too much stuff in one sitting, or it's just too much, right? Our normal schedule is read your chapter, do your follow-up questions, read your chapter until that's done. And then one day for reading would be to fill in the information sheet and write a summary. I think that's a good one day. And then the next day, have them work on their report. You can even have them work on their book report for 2 days, right? Maybe they give it their best shot, and then the next day you sit down with them and look at it and make any revisions that need to be made. Ask them any questions, point out, something looks like it's left out there. He likes to write in pen, so we definitely have gone to using the erasable pens. And if your child is working on typing skills, it's a great chance to type up your final book report. That is how I teach my kids to write book report. I'll link everything in the description box, and happy homeschooling.